How's it going, everyone? It's your boy, Andreas. I wanted to make another YouTube video as a 1 year anniversary of my first YouTube video, where I basically talked a ton about my journey and my growth and a lot of things I learned over the past year or so. And so basically want to give an update on, some of the stuff that I went through this year and talk a lot about like what really helped me and a lot of stuff I learned about growth and becoming, the person that I want to be. And so, kind of like looking back on the actual year itself, I thought a lot of us were a bit worried about COVID, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. I don't think any of us knew it was going to be like that. And the last year was really challenging for a lot of people. It was one of the hardest years of my life, and I learned so much about who I am as a person in the last year, that has really helped me start to see myself, for who I really am and what I'm really capable of. And a lot of the things I learned over the last year, I attribute a ton of that to being in therapy, actually. And I'm a huge advocate for men's mental health. I think, it's not talked about enough in social circles with us guys. And, I think it's something that we should really start to embrace when we need it. We can't control what happens to us in our upbringing and, how that impacts our life. And so we have to find the resources and the different tools that can help us digest things like trauma that occurred to us. And by doing that, it helps us see the world in a different way and see ourselves in a bit of a different way. So I absolutely encourage therapy for anyone who think they would benefit from it. I've benefited from it greatly. And from my perspective, what it is, it's, you're basically paying someone to give you a perspective on your life and the things that you do and your habits and how those habits turn into outcomes, both negative and positive. And my therapist has helped me so much in being able to recognize, when I'm, acting a certain way that doesn't align with like, who I want to be or what I want to do. And, we talk about that and all that. So, humble plug for therapy, but, if you haven't tried it, I absolutely recommend it. Another big thing I learned over this year was I learned about codependency, and I read the book Codependent No More. Shout out to Brianna Morales who put me onto that book, and that book absolutely changed my life. And if you come from a traumatic upbringing or a challenging upbringing where you're in a highly emotional, intense setting a lot of the time, and you feel now today that you sort of struggle with, uh, building refined relationships, I consider reading Codependent No More and seeing if some of those characteristics or attributes are apparent in yourself. And after I read that book, it's like I saw a part of myself I could never see before. And it has helped me so much really manage a lot of the things that cause me emotional pain, and it helps me manage and grow my self-worth on a daily basis. So I absolutely recommend Codependent No More for anyone who thinks they'd be interested in that. So one big thing I learned from both therapy and Codependent No More was the idea of pain and recognizing if something is painful because it's growth or it's painful because it's abuse. So, for example, uh, I work in marketing. I have a career in marketing, and a lot of the pain that I went through in that job was actually the pain of learning to be better at my job. And, we feel pain when we grow because we're not used to being pushed that hard or doing something a certain way, which is usually the way to do something. And so it's a painful process. On the flip side, we also feel pain when we're subjected to abuse or we're subjecting ourselves to abuse. That comes from being in abusive relationships, being in a relational dynamic that is causing you continuous pain or effort, and being able to recognize, this is not how this should be, right? And having the courage to say, I'm not going to continue to put up with this to any capacity. And so building that muscle of how to, recognize the pain of growth and the pain of abuse has been crucial to my growth over the last year, and has helped me overcome a ton and really see for things as what they really are. So, and nothing is black or white. Some things are gray. Some things are a mixture of, abuse and growth, right? And like, for example, having a manager who's really hard on you and who is not, doing things the way that they should be done, but they're also teaching you at the same time, right? That's an example of something that's very gray. So you have to think about, whether those things are worth investing in, right? And, you kind of have to trust your intuition and your own experiences, your collection of own experiences, and say, hey, is this worth investing in? If not, it's gonna take some time, but you got to move on. Otherwise, you start to sacrifice. So, another thing that I learned over this last year was that if we're not naturally good at everything as human beings, it takes practice, right? And if you see someone who is good at something, they have done that thing many times before to get to that point, willingly or unwillingly. And so if you want to improve in something, you have to practice. And that's with anything. Michael Jordan shooting a jumper, Tiger Woods hitting a golf ball. They were doing that so much that they became exceptionally good at doing that. And so whatever you feel like you are not good at in your life, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be completely honest with yourself about what you are not good at, so that you can practice those things and become better. For example, I was not the most social person, and I would always struggle just like, kind of being introverted in groups and stuff like that. And I just told myself, like, I moved to Chicago this year. I need to meet more people. I have to be more social. And so I would just be as social as I can. I'd start talking to everyone, asking how their day was, this and that. And I just kept doing that. For like 6 months, I did that. And now I just strike up conversations with anyone. Like, it's just instant. And so that's just an example of how, like, it just takes practice. And I've heard that from so many people. My therapist, my manager, friends, it just takes practice. And when you start to hear the same thing from many people in your life, it's usually true. And if those people are trusted and you're saying, like, you know what, I believe this person's usually, trusted, and they're all saying the same thing, it's probably true. So take that advice. Just takes practice. If you want to get better at something, you just have to keep on doing it, and doing it at a very rapid pace. Atomic Habits, read that book. It will teach you about how to get better. Another thing that I learned this year that was huge for my personal and professional growth is the idea of everything is a process. And I know that sounds kind of vague, but I think it's so true, because, and I think it kind of coincides with the practice, is that, we're not good at everything instantly. We sort of follow this process, right? And that's an example. But another example is like, nothing that happens to us is ever really random. It's not some random momentous, occurrence that is completely out of our control. It's probably happened to thousands of other people before, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions over the span of human history. And it follows a specific process. Think about grieving, think about getting a promotion, think about building your relationship with someone, right? It doesn't go from 0 to 100 instantly. It takes time, and it takes growth and effort and resources and dedication. And you go through a process of getting closer to someone, or getting better at your job and better at your job until you get a promotion, or closer to someone until you get married, right? Things kind of follow this like set process. And when you see things as an actual process, it helps you deal with the pain that you feel as you're going through this process, because you know which phase you are in. So, for example, a big thing that happened to me this year is that I got a huge promotion at my job that I've been wanting for 2 years. And it was driving me absolutely crazy at the beginning because I wanted this so bad. And in the last year, it became a bit easier to feel like, my time is coming, because I could see myself getting better. I could see myself going through this process of getting better to a point where it's just like, if I got bad feedback or something like that about my performance or whatever, I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm at this point in this process, right? It's going to take X amount more time and X amount more mistakes and wins to get to that point. And it finally happened. I finally got promoted. So that's how I think about things, as a process. And that's helped me so much, really just manage the pain of growth, personally and professionally. Like, you have to kind of think like a scientist, and see things as objectively as you can. Read Think Again by Adam Grant. I know I'm giving a shit ton of book plugs, but these books explain those things, and that's honestly partly where I learned it from. So see things as a process and don't take things too personally. The last thing I learned is that, and I think this is an extremely underrated piece of advice, is that it all adds up, both negative and positive. And I think that is a highly underrated piece of advice, because I think it's so true, is that, when you invest in something and you keep doing it consistently, whether it's working out or losing weight, or, getting better grades, or getting a promotion, or being a better parent, or anything like that, those days that you feel like you're not growing, but you're giving more effort, that effort at the end of a certain period of time turns into a huge increase in your ability to do that thing. At the same time, when you're continuously, engaging in a behavior that's negative, it's going to come back to bite you after a certain period of time. Everyone has their day of reckoning. I read that somewhere, is that, everyone sort of deals with this kind of things catching up to you, basically. But, and I think the advice of like it all adds up is so great, because there's balance to it, right? Both positive and negative. But it means that you can sort of apply it to your own life, right? Of, hey, I see my bad habits. I see me doing this thing again and again and again. Most likely, at the end, something, not great will come from this, right? And at the same time, I keep doing this one positive behavior, I know something great will come from this. And so thinking about it all adds up makes really good sense in terms of your growth and getting better. And it honestly just helps you be very honest with yourself and say, hey, these are things I need to pay attention to. And if I don't take action, or if I don't stop to let something go, what will come from it is not exactly what I wanted. So yeah, kind of a brain dump there, but those are the core things that I learned over the last year. And in that time, I ended up living completely on my own. I've been in my own apartment for 7 to 8 months now. Got a huge promotion at my job. I've made more friends. I've built better relationships with my existing friends. I I'm managing my mental health so much better by going to therapy and also being on medication, which was a big piece for me, and it's not for everyone. And I usually was against it, but I started using that as a resource, and it's helped me immensely. So again, um, you know, do what you have to do to get to where you want to be, and it takes time and effort and an honest look in the mirror, many honest looks in the mirror of saying, what am I not doing right? Or where do I need to be smarter or better? And going from there. And so, a million epiphanies later, you finally are where you wanted to be all along. So this is my 1 year update. I'm really excited about the future. I've never been more self-aware of who I am as a person, and it has freed me emotionally from a lot of things. So yeah, whoever watches this, I hope you find a nugget of value in this that you can apply to your own life, and make some improvements to help you get what you want out of life. So thank you.